Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. A longer video this time because we are going to paint up some non-metallic gold on the Sanguinary Guard. As promised, there is finally a wet palette shown on the screen. Yay! So I'm starting this video with the arm of a Sanguinary Guard. I already base coated the arm with a whole red from Vallejo. It's a brownish red that really gets you nice shades on the Blood Angels. So right now I'm just starting off with sketching stuff out on the Mournfang brown. Sketching stuff out with Mournfang brown on top of the whole red. It's hard to see here on camera, but as soon as we jump up to the next layer, which is the XV88, you will see the jump in colors, but we have already created a nice warm underlayer with whole red and Mournfang brown. Now for this video I am using a Da Vinci brush for now. I've been painting a while with golden maple and I wanted to give this brush a go. Spoiler alert, it didn't last very long. So I switched back to the golden maple one and throughout the video somewhere. The paints I'm using for this video is a whole red as a base coat, Mournfang brown as the second layer, and from there on I'm going to use XV88, Balor brown. We are going to add some Yriel yellow into the Balor brown, and on top of that we are going to add in some ice yellow to the same mix. But more on that later. Just make sure we have applied the Mournfang brown on the areas you want to be bright. Now for those that are wondering how do you know where to apply these bright or dark areas, I have a tips and tricks video on my Patreon that is shown now on the screen, where I show you how I figured this out quick and easy. Not saying it's a perfect way, but it's certainly a good guideline to help you figure it all out very quickly. Throughout the video you will notice that I'm sometimes blocking a lot of light with my head, and I'm trying to up the contrast and the brightness of the video a little bit so you guys still have an okay view of what is going on. I've added more light in my next videos, and I changed the angle a little bit also for the next video, so the problem will be solved again in the next one. I'm sorry about that, but you should still be able to see everything what's going on in detail. I've been cleaning up my painting area just like I do it every Sunday, but for some reason I probably must have changed the light setup and my camera, so that's why it was probably all messed up, and you will see throughout the video I know something was wrong, but I just couldn't figure it out what it was at that moment. It was very weird, but anyway, that's fixed now. Also throughout the video you will notice that the video will go a bit warmer in temperature. That's because I have been playing around with the settings a little bit to get more warmth in my videos. Sometimes when I start recording the colors go quite cold. It has probably something to do with my black background, so I might be changing that into a more neutral one, so you get a clearer view of what is going on. So in the coming videos, such as the red shoulder and the sword with the lightning on it, they will be a lot better. They will have a lot better lighting. But don't worry, more gold is on its way. I'm always working to improve myself or even improve the quality of the videos I make, and you can only learn it the hard way by making mistakes. And as I said, I want to give you guys the best quality I can, but you know what they say, with practice comes perfection. Same as painting, creating videos or creating tutorials. You get better by doing it. Well, at least I hope I'm improving. Anyway, sorry about that. Bear with me. It's gonna be good next time. We are now going to switch up to the XV88, and we're going to do the same thing here as we did before with the Mournfang brown. Brighten up these bright areas, edge highlight. I always start edge highlighting with XV88 or even with Mournfang brown. The reason why I do this is because the more you apply it, the easier it becomes. These thin layers of paint we apply, it will make it easier the more we do it. Just make sure your edges are very thin and sharp. The reason why I say this is always the same thing. Sharp and thin edges will give it a more convincing metal effect. Thick edges will ruin that effect. Plus, if really needed, you can always correct the edges and make them look more thin and sharp. But more on that in another tips and tricks video I will upload soon. I'm hoping to upload that in the next 2 weeks. I need to finish the sword first with the lightning and the white helmet details for the Sanguinary Priest. But we will try to upload it this month for sure, where we will, dive a little deeper into the world of edge highlighting, and I'll show you how I do it, why I do it, and also how to correct these edges to be more sharp and thin. I'll try to post it this month for sure, so stay tuned for that if you want some more info on that one. If we go back to the painting side for a minute, you can start seeing the jump in brightness to the XV88. The arm and sword will be the first thing you'll see on this miniature, so we have to make sure we create some interest. With this in mind, I spontaneously started creating these lines on the shoulder trims. It's a cool effect and pretty easy to apply, so just make sure your consistency doesn't contain too much water, more or less like a creamy one. Just make sure to test it on your hand before, or glove, before applying it onto the model. Just to be sure, You really want vertical thin lines, very fine, and try to paint them separately. And if you painted them a little bit too thick or too thin, it doesn't matter. Don't just repeat or correct it just yet. Move on to another spot with the brush and paint a line here and paint one over there, and then come back to it. For example, paint it separately, create a pattern, so to speak, and just repeat till the XV88 really comes through. Now this model is really focused on the arm and sword, so let's make sure we will make this the focal point of the model and give it some cool details to look at it. So you want to give this part a bit more attention, because it's the first thing people will see when they look at this miniature. The weapon, the arm, the chest. So let's make it stand out a little bit more. So for example, I did the shoulders a little bit different than what I normally would do. Normally I just, glaze in bright and dark areas on the shoulder using small brush strokes and, the same thing we all do. But this time I did it a little bit different because, like I mentioned before, sorry about that, I didn't like the angle and position of my camera that much. I have lost a lot of material because of this issue. Most of the time I was painting outside of the camera view, which makes it sometimes impossible to create a decent video out of it. The camera is trying to focus all the time while not being in the middle of the camera. It's a lot easier when the cam is, focusing on what's going on. So yeah, that's why I had to repaint this arm basically. Not sure if I'm gonna be repainting the chest again, because it was quite a lot of work. And since this is a commission, I would basically lose a lot of time by doing it. But do not fear, I got 3 more of these guys to do, so I'll make sure we get some clean chest footage to show you how we tackle the chest and why I do it the way I do it. Anyway, it is coming, but give me some time to edit it. Now to get back to the painting a little bit, we are going to edge highlight the elbow, and we really need to be careful with this and keep it sharp and thin. I wouldn't do this with a freshly loaded brush. Make sure you did some painting before, so you know how much pressure you need to apply, which is in this case on the edge pretty low. We are also adding the second reflection on the elbow, just like we did on the forearm. A lot of people have been asking me, for example, here on the forearm, How do I know where I place a reflection, and also why do I create a dark spot on the forearm to begin with? Well, I mostly look at things on how they are shaped. The forearm, for example, has a shape of a cylinder, but it also goes into a cone-like shape, which means it gets more narrow towards the wrist. And that's why I made a big highlight on the upper part of the forearm, and I made it go smaller towards the lower part to where the wrist is. So that's why I basically added an additional reflection on the metal by splitting the big one on the upper part to two smaller ones when we go to the lower part to the wrist. Well, that's how I see it when I was painting this area. So on this part we are going to add a reflection on the inside of the arm, because it will reflect against the chest area, which will be a very bright area, of course, as well as this is in our focal point, the chest area I mean. Our main highlight is on the forearm. You want to create a dark area right behind it, and then create the reflection inside, the arm. Now just put down the sketch here. We will correct this later on by making a transition from dark to the reflection on this side, on the inside, sorry. And we do this by letting our brush strokes go from dark to bright. This way you create a gradient towards the area you want it to be bright. Don't worry, it's a bit rough at the moment and things, but we are sketching things out and see how things work, Just keep repeating those brush strokes towards your bright areas, because that's how it goes sometimes, Don't think too much before painting. I think while I'm painting, not before it. And sometimes I think too much while painting. So, but then you get some of these crazy ideas that you want to try out, and you end up spending more time on it than needed. So yeah, that's how it goes, right? Same thing for the gold. While painting it, I am mostly thinking of how does these parts react to light, and I'm creating these shapes on the metal. It really helps the effect, because contrast is everything. And sometimes these hard switches from bright to a sudden darkness can create a shape into the metal, just like I do with the Sanguinary Guard chests that I'll be showing on the screen right now. These breastplates are pretty flat, and with these hard transitions you can create shapes. Now this is not created with one highlight line, It takes a few layers to build up, correcting with the whole red even to create a nice shape. And because of all these layers, correcting and layering up, you will get a smooth, hard transition. But it will take time, and I will show you this in detail when I will paint the chest soon enough. For now, we are going to start adding in the Balor brown to the mini. Onto the mini. And after this layer, I will mostly start correcting things back a bit more. And I start working on the transitions, meaning I go back and forth quite a lot with thin layers of previous paints to, smoothen up. Now you can keep sketching until you reach ice yellow or even white if you want to. That's all up to you. Everybody has their own style and approach to things. I like to build up with a lot of thin layers. It does take quite a lot of time to do, yes, but I know I am creating a nice gradient this way, as my brush strokes keep going to the same direction most of the time to enforce that brightness. So you automatically create some kind of a smoothness at the end because of all these thin layers we apply. But for now I feel like we have been sketching out our brightest areas. We do know our bright areas and we do know our dark areas. So for now we are just going to repeat what we did before and enforce it with this Balor brown, adding more of a yellow tone to the gold palette. Remember to keep these edge highlights sharp and thin, and just keep applying them, making them more and more obvious. Sorry guys, I really feel bad for when I start painting. It tends to go a bit darker on screen. Like I said before, it's because my lamp was badly positioned, but I didn't notice it on the screen, because as soon as I took a look at my camera or the screen, the light does reach my model as it should be. So yeah, I couldn't really figure out what was going on, but I knew there was something off on the video. So yeah, fail, learn, adapt and improve. It's the only way, guys. But I do apologize for this. So let's continue applying the Balor brown to the rest of the arm, such as the hand and the other parts. Again, a pretty weird shape of the armor on the hand, so it kinda threw me off at start, but we will correct it later in the video. Like I said, don't overthink too much, just apply the paint to the model at the moment, and we will correct things out more later in this video. Now for the shoulder here, we are going to do the same thing as we did with the XV88. Keep repeating these fine lines on the shoulder. Make sure to always test your paint, like I do mostly, on my hand or glove before applying it to the miniature. This really helps finding out you got the right consistency for the job. Keep repeating those lines and stay in between your previous layers to achieve a nice gradient in the end. It's an easy way to create some extra details on the trim, because as soon as we're going to apply the Balor brown onto the shoulder, you will see it's really getting more of that color into it, more of the yellow obviously. And from there on, you just have to keep doing the same thing, building up inside your previously painted layers for a nice transition. So in this case, the forearm, there is a big bright area. So let's say top, middle, right-ish of the forearm is the brick, is a big bright area. Well, then you can start thinking of playing with a second reflection on the opposite side, which is the bottom, middle, left-ish of the arm, on the wrist. Just to give you an idea on how you can play with these things, a big one on top, smaller ones below. Let's apply some of the Balor brown on the hand. Like I said before, it's weirdly shaped. In the middle of the hand of the armor, it tends to have a bend that goes up. So we are going to create a brightness on the side of the hand. Very small brush strokes, and the brush strokes should go towards the handle of the sword. Very small. Leave some darkness towards the middle of the hand, and then you create this, this bright bump in the middle of his fist. Really weird. But yeah, that's the good thing also about painting in front of a camera. You can almost immediately see if it's gonna work or not. So you can correct shapes and forms at any time to your likings. But we do have to consider how light is going to react on that part of the model, of course. So you can look at it as a cheat or a tool that helps you out. It depends on how you look at it, right? But what the camera doesn't tell you is when you are blocking the camera view with your head or when you are painting outside of the frame. Bastard. Anyway, it could also be a good learning video for people that are new to the world of miniature painting, which is a pretty big world to be in. Anyway, we are going to correct a few things here on the forearm, and we are slowly getting these shapes in there. Just keep repeating the brush strokes to enforce the areas you want to be bright, or even, a bit darker. Top forearm, for example. The hand, edge highlight everywhere you can, of course, and from here on we are going to go a bit back and forth with the XV88 and the Balor brown to correct a few things a bit more, and when this is all done and corrected, we are going to go back to the Mournfang brown even, so we can add some more warmth into the armor. Take some time for this. The XV88 and the Mournfang brown, they act well, they could act to warm up the palette a little bit, you know. I'm also going to create a big PDF about light placement, how it reacts to different kind of metals, surfaces, sorry, such as metals and skin, for example. Understanding light is more important than smoothness, in my opinion. That's why sketching is so important. We understand where we need to understand where or how our main light hits onto the model, for example. As mentioned at the start of the video, taking a picture is a good and quick reference to where you have to place your light, because mostly we are painting the miniature unassembled. And there is nothing more annoying than when you are putting the miniature together and your light placement is all over the place. That's why we create, you know, a focal point, take a picture, and the rest is up for interpretation and research. Which materials are we working with? Is it going to reflect the light? Is it going to be shiny? Is it going to be dull? Or, you know, will it absorb the light even? All things we have to consider when painting these miniatures. If you want to add, you know, that realism into the fantasy world we are all painting for. This little area of the elbow is quite weird because you are not gonna see much of this because of his pose. But we can't leave this unpainted as well, or just as a base color. So I'm giving this a small reflection right underneath its shoulder, representing a reflection coming from the shoulder. So just to create a small gradient, there is enough. Once this is all done, we are going to add some of the Mournfang brown back, and as you can see, I'm going to thin down the Mournfang brown quite a lot. So we're going to thin it down first because we need a very transparent layer with this brown. This will add some more warmth to it into what we have done so far. But try to stay in the shaded areas and correct some stuff while being there in terms of transitions and blending. The most important thing here with transparent paint like this is wiping it off on a napkin and of course test before applying. Once we are done with correcting the, once we are done with correcting stuff and the blending, we can start thinking of using the Yriel yellow into the Balor brown. But before this, we are using pure Balor brown first to brighten up certain areas, because we have just made a few things darker again for blending purpose with the XV88 and the Mournfang brown. So we're gonna keep adding these fine lines onto the shoulder so you can really see the texture coming through, and it's already giving a cool effect because of this. So let's add some of the Balor brown all over again, wherever it's needed. And then we are going to mix in some of the Yriel yellow into it. The Balor brown acts as a mid-tone. Make sure to test the consistency of the paints again before applying, because we are adding a fresh new paint to the mixture, and this is gonna make it a bit more thick. So whenever we are adding paint to the mix, add some water as well. Just a small tip. Anyway, adding Yriel yellow really gets the yellow going on the armor, and we're going to do the same thing as we did before, and we are going to start layering up and repeat our brush strokes to the area we want it to be bright. Now, the more Yriel yellow you are going to use, it's going to get really bright. So I wouldn't really go any further at the start or at the moment than a 50-50 mix. We might add more yellow into it later, but right now let's just focus on getting this mixture onto the model where it matters most, such as the forearm, the hand, the elbow, and the shoulder pad. From now on, we are going to start adding in the Yriel yellow, as said before, and we're going to do the same thing as before as well. Layer up again. Now, to get back to the brush again that I mentioned in the beginning, I'm using a Da Vinci brush at the moment, but throughout the process of the arm, I changed again to the golden maple, and I think it needs some explaining why I did this. Well, as said in the beginning of the video, I normally paint with golden maple or orange brushes. Last year in 2025, around July, August, they sent me a few of these brushes to test them out, and I've been painting with both brands since then. Both of them are, pretty good for now so far. Now, I had this Da Vinci brush lying around for quite some time, and I wanted a fresh new brush for the gold we are doing, or for this, Sanguinary Guard in general, really. But after a few paint sessions, the hairs started splitting. I did the same thing as I always did, clean my brushes after every session, and soap, whatever. So yeah, as said, after a few paint sessions, the hair started splitting. Now, don't get me wrong, Da Vinci has some good brushes, but you really need to be lucky with them, apparently. And I don't like luck when I'm buying stuff. I want to be, I want to buy a product where I am certain of, um, which Da Vinci brushes at the moment can't give it to me. And let's be honest, they are not the priciest out there, but it's not about how cheap they are or how pricey they are. Um, it's about the quality of it. If you have to buy like 4 brushes and hopefully one of them does the job, that's not how things work, in my opinion. I haven't had any issues yet so far with the golden maple or the orange brushes, and that's not because I got sponsored by them or anything. It's just I'm telling you what I have experienced so far with them, and I'm not gonna really promote a product that has uncertainties, like this brush, for example. Yeah, I know there aren't much great companies anymore, apparently, for brushes. I heard Raphael is one of the best. Artist Opus I also tried before, but for me they are a bit too expensive. They also come from the UK, and we have to pay at the border now everything that comes from the UK, which makes it very expensive. Because the last time I bought the Artist Opus, I bought the whole set, the dry brushes, and it was 300 euros for the complete set. And when it came to my place in Belgium, I had to pay an additional 129 euros to it for the border. So that was a total of 429 euros for a couple of brushes. So yeah, that was a lesson learned. Well, that was a hard lesson learned. So right now I am still looking for good brushes, and I'm gonna order those Raphael soon to try them out. I've been hearing very good things about them. Rosemary and Co apparently are pretty good as well. I haven't tried them either. Yeah, there are a few, there are many brands out there, but not every brand is in my reach. My hobby shop has a few good brushes, but they're not always available. Now to get back to the painting a little bit again, you can really see the yellow coming through and it's getting that shine we are looking for. The next thing we will do after the layering up with the Yriel yellow mix is that we are going to add some ice yellow into that same mix. But more on this in a few minutes. Just work your way up to where we need to be and take your time. Go back and forth if needed with your previously paints. Create new mixes every now and then, because these mixes could dry out really fast, you know. So make sure you keep watering them up. It's a reason why I'm painting like this on my palette. I tend to take a drop of paint from the bottle, then I grab a drop of paint from the brush, with the brush, sorry, and then I start adding water to the drop of paint we just grabbed. This way we will leave the fresh paint coming from the bottle fresh for a very long time. And as soon as we start adding water to the freshly grabbed paint with the brush, it will dry out really fast. So especially on hotter days. I mean, I think we can all agree that spring and autumn are the best times for painting. Winter also, but since I paint in my garage, it could get quite cold in here. And it takes a while before my heater has heated up the whole place. So anyway, painting is not really meant for the summer times, I guess. Well, only if you have some good airco going, and still it's an issue sometimes. We are still adding some of the Yriel yellow mix to the arm and shoulder. Just keep repeating your brush strokes and correct stuff whenever needed. This could take some time, you know. I'm not going to bother you much longer with my voice, because I think you have a clear view now to where we are going with the arm, and we are only going to go brighter from this point. So we are now at the final stage of the video, which is adding the ice yellow to our previous mix, which was the 50-50 mix of Balor brown and Yriel yellow. Now add some of the ice yellow to that mix and add more water to it as well. The ice yellow from Vallejo is pretty thick, so add carefully. I also painted this part a few hours later, so my previous mixes already dried out, of course. So what I suggest is try preparing a palette again for the next few steps, which will make things easier for you. And what I mean by that is create a new 50-50 mix with Balor brown and Yriel yellow. Add some water to the pure Balor brown as well. And then we have also created the 50-50 mix plus the ice yellow to it. So these three mixes should be close to you for now, because we are going to brighten up, and they will be used quite often, because we are layering up to the next step, which is the pure ice yellow, of course. But again, let's focus on this first. I don't know if you gonna notice it, but my paints are getting really transparent sometimes. Now I like to build up slowly, and especially here because I want to create narrow highlights and let the yellow midtone be more dominant. So I would suggest, when you are watching the video, make sure to watch me test my paint every time before I apply it, if it is shown on the camera, of course. But mostly I do test it before I apply it, so you have an idea of how my consistency, of how your consistency should look like, and how much paint, or sometimes basically water, you want to have at that point. Because when we are doing these last few highlights and correction, we are using very thin paints, and it's basically water at some point, just to correct a few things. And we are fighting with a few pigments under the magnifying glass, trying to get them to stay on a particular spot. So yeah, that's what we have to do right now until we reach ice yellow itself. You will notice once I use the pure ice yellow, it will be again very watered down, and the problem sometimes with it is you think it's watered down enough, and once you touch the model you are like, oh no, the transition is way too harsh, or I did too much. Do not panic yet. You will see this plenty of times in the video. Just clean the brush in water, wipe it off really well on a napkin, and don't grab new paint, sorry. Just with this moisty brush you correct what you did wrong before, and you will notice the paint starts to dissolve, and you can play with the pigments again, trying to get them where you want them to be and make it less harsh, the transition, but more of a smooth one, which is what we are all looking for, right? These clean, smooth looks. Anyway, have fun watching the rest of the video, guys. I'm gonna shut it here till almost at the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in a few minutes. Enjoy. Now you can clearly see these last few layers I'm applying are very thin. I told you to watch me test my paint before applying it, so you know exactly which consistencies you are looking for and looking at, because the paints I'm using are very transparent, and when I'm gonna test them, I'm wiping my brush off on the napkin first, and I really do it thoroughly. So when I test it, you will sometimes notice no difference and you will be like, I just saw nothing happen on your hand, and I still apply it because there is still paint on the brush. That's how easy it is. And with this kind of transparent layers and carefully adjusting stuff, this is, you know, the final steps, just to play with the pigment, get a nice transition, the last few nice transitions. But yeah, and now I know my wet palette is positioned on the left side of me, while you may think, why doesn't he just place the wet palette on his right side, you know? Easier to grab the paint, and the arm, I don't have to watch an arm all the time, you know? I'm not gonna lie, you are absolutely right, but let me explain. First of all, I'm used to it now. I've been painting now for a few years and I'm used to it now. But here it comes. It's a trick. My arm isn't that interesting and I'm aware of that. So I suggest you don't look at my arm, but look at my wet palette instead. A lot more to learn on there than what's on my arm. It's all by design, guys, trust me. I'm just kidding, but if you think about it, it's still a good idea to look at my palette instead, you know, of my arm. And see you all in a few minutes, guys. Enjoy the last few corrections I'm making until I am somewhat happy about it. I still have to think it's, you know, it's a commission piece, not a competition piece, so I can't spend too much time on things. But I think you get the idea to where we are going with this and how much you can still improve it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I think it's 20 more minutes to go for this video, so I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. Send me some photos on the Discord or on any of my socials, and if you want, I can try to digitally improve them with Photoshop or Ibis Paint. And yeah, I see you all at the end of the video. Maybe one more thing I want to add, which is the future for Patreon. As mentioned in the video, I have lost a lot of footage being recorded wrong. Now I have been trying to paint new tutorials and we got it covered for the next few weeks, as we will continue this Sanguinary Guard. I will soon continue Mournfang Val also, and I'm also starting a new Blood Angel. Oh, shocker. This time a Terminator Chaplain and also a Zinj Shaman. So stay tuned for those. They are coming next in the few months. There is also a Night Lord coming on a bike. Very cool commission and I'm very excited for that, to paint it up. I also have Ayathon Shan as a commission for the summertime, which is very exciting. So that's for the near future on the Patreon. Now for YouTube, I have also quite a lot of stuff coming for YouTube. I recently uploaded the liquid and glass effect. The next video will be about the wings of Fulgrim. Also a quick and easy video for the Lamartes base. And I'm also soon going to start uploading tabletop painted miniatures for, you know, the clients. How I paint them for my clients when they ask me for a tabletop commission. And for that I got, of course, some Blood Angel Terminators, Sisters of Battle, also got some Zangors, so yeah, stay tuned for that if you are interested. So here we are at the end of the video. I will show you the final result in a minute. The next video I will be uploading is about the red shoulder. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to include the scroll with the ball text on it, as I wanted to add that part in the detail video. Anyway, next video, hopefully this week, the red shoulder and also the video for the sword and lightning. After those videos, I'm going to upload the helmet details of the Sanguinary Priest and the detail video of the Sanguinary Guards Arm. And after that, a lot more gold. The details will contain the white wing on the sword, the handle of the sword, and of course the scroll with the text on it. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for the support and I hope you liked it. But more importantly, I hope you learned a thing or two. I did also. So I make sure my setup is correct before I start. Anyway, I see you all in the next video guys. Bye bye.